handled this sign that I took from the universe. So I really wanted to go on this trip to this center where someone who I look up to speaks almost weekly, but they're not there all the time because they are the wisdom that comes out of them. They need to share that wisdom to a lot of places in the world. So sometimes they're pulled in different directions in different countries. So you're never told like if they're for sure going to be there that weekend. And I was like, it's a long, like it's far away and I'm going to be spending some time there. And so I wanted to make sure like if I was going there that like hopefully they'd be speaking. So, I put it out there in the universe. I was just like, hey, I would love to see them speak. And I feel like I'm supposed to be there when they speak. But if it ends up happening that like I'm there and they're not, I know that's meant for me as well. And it's going to be great. And I'm going to hear what I need to hear. And so the day that I was going to finally book the flight, because I finally figured out the dates that I really wanted to be there, I was like exhausted from like doing all this stuff for a family member, like helping them move a bunch of stuff. And then I was like, oh, I'm way too exhausted. It's really late. Not a good time to make these types of like big decisions and, triple checking the flight stuff. So I was like, hey, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow came. Those prices were not even close. And then after that, it was just like double, tripled the price. And I was just like, like I think the universe wants me to go there when it's like, this price, even though at that price is good too. But I feel like for me, it's telling me that this is a sign that like, even though of course I could book that like triple the price, but I feel like the universe is trying to tell me that like it's not like because sometimes it could be a way of like expanding you and expanding your view of abundance and stuff. But at that point, depending on the person and what they're going through and stuff, so it could be that. But I felt like it was it was a sign that it was that person might not be speaking. So I was just like, okay, universe, I'll keep checking and I'll see. And I didn't triple check in or double check in even with my internal GPS to see if that's what's happening. I was just like in the state of like, well, the universe is going to show me in other ways and signs. The prices being one of them, and I was just keeping my vibration like up and high. And then it was a Friday, and there was this big like tempered glass that someone someone in the family wanted help moving, and I was like, I kept telling them no, it's really late. I prefer like a lot of things. I'm like, at nighttime you have to be more. I'm more mindful of doing certain things at night, especially if I'm like tired. But anyways, they insisted, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just help them. Anyways, it just like kind of did like a mini like pop, like it literally like felt like a mini pop, and it just like went everywhere. It's humongous glass, like 75 inches wide. Anyways, and little bits of glass everywhere, and then and chunks too. But anyways, I had a few places that it was bleeding. This being like the biggest cut of them all, and it was cut like in a very weird deep way. And I was just like, and they felt really bad. And I was like, no, 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 this is happening because maybe I'm not supposed to be in LA because when I got this looked at, the health professional told me that 7 to 10 days, like try not to get it wet. And so, because it needs to heal properly because it's like a deep cut. So then I was like, okay, this is actually a sign. So I didn't go to a place where I was just like, oh my God, why is this happening? Blah, blah. It was just like, oh, I know this is happening for me. And I know that this is like a sign. And I'm really thankful to the universe. But I could be shown signs in more loving, positive ways. Thank you. And so putting that out there to the universe that you could show me in more loving ways. But this was also like something that is like, nothing life threatening. So I was just like, thanks, universe. So next few days I felt like really off and really weird. And and then I was just like, okay, well, it's good because then I would be leaving in a few days because it happened on a Friday, and that Wednesday or Thursday is like when I really needed to be the last day that I'd be pushing that I should be leaving to go to this place. And then And then, so I was like not feeling well. I was like, okay, whatever. But I was still checking, but I wasn't checking like, oh my God, please. Like, I really want to go. It was just like, okay, let's see. Let's see. Like, it was more like having fun with the universe type of situation. Because I already thought like, okay, the universe is showing me signs that I shouldn't be going there. And then, yeah, so now it's been like more than a week and a bit, and it's still not fully healed. It needs actually another week. So it would have been like a whole thing to go there, try not to get it wet, not to get sand in it at the beach, not go in the water. Like it would have been a whole thing. And yeah, and it was like I would have been able to handle it, but it wouldn't be great because every time I hit something, it's like really painful. And so yeah, so it was interesting that like this, it doesn't mean that like everything needs to be like this sign, this thing, because some say that like you're giving it the meaning. But so the meaning that I gave it was more so that I know this is happening for me, even in ways that I might not know or see even right now. But I know that this is happening for me. So I was 100% sure that it was because of this flight and that it was telling me not to go. But I knew that it was something that was very helpful to me and I just couldn't see why. And I'm very grateful. So that kept my energy like nice and high and up. And then and then that gives way for like the parts of your brain where creativity could flow, but also the parts of the way place where intuition and some say channeling and stuff can come through as well. Because I'm also keeping in like a peaceful, calm state. My nervous system is really relaxed and peaceful, and yeah, so it wasn't. I'm not going to a fearful state. Doesn't mean those things can't come through when you're in that state. That's not what that means. But trying to keep your energy high or staying in like a joyful place, not in a place of like this high. I don't mean excitement in this high place where you're just like going for drinks, partying, and doing all this stuff. Like that, I consider that more of like a high and a low. Because think of like drinking as it's a downer. It's not actually something that you feel like, it's an up, but it's actually considered a downer. But anyway, so but you could do things that bring you joy that like, but anyway, so different ways. They're different ways, but it's not about like this high and low situation, but it's more of like a peaceful, calm, joyful, loving, expansive way. That's how I view it. And so others could feel other ways about it as well. And have their own definitions for it perhaps. And so keeping myself in that place and having fun with it, it was really great to see that like because it wasn't that big of a deal. If I didn't go that day, it was like I've been wanting to go for years and this is the time that I wanted to go, but I was like that I meant to go at another time, and it's supposed to happen a different way. So now that it's been after the time that I would have had to been there, so or I would have been actually flying back today, and so I checked to see who was like speaking at that center. Amazing, amazing speaker, but it wasn't the person that I felt like has mentored me for years virtually through their speaking and has made me feel like what they're saying resonates with me in a way that like sometimes things come through me and I didn't trust my intuition, but then they would talk about it when they speak that week, and they would come through in a way that's like more in their way and their examples, and I was just like that's what has come through, like so it's helped me increase my intuition and trust myself more. So it's been great seeing that, and they've also guided through so much wisdom and stuff of their own. And so I checked and they weren't speaking. And so I was just like, I don't know if this is what is exactly the only thing that I should be thankful that's related to the speaker. That like the speaker wasn't there, but I know that like this happened for me and already in such a big way because like for years I've been wanting to go there to see this person speak, and the weekend that I wanted to go, they weren't there, and this sign and is looking at it as like a positive thing, not knowing how or why. And maybe there's still more other reasons that it's going to show me positive reasons that it's happening for me that I still can't see right now. Maybe like other things are going to come up and I might have to say no to them just because of this or whatever. And it's just like all these things are still, it's still helping me. And again, in ways that I'm not sure to what extent that it's helping me, but it's already helped me so much. And by keeping my vibration high, by looking at it as a positive, and these things are things that I've practiced almost daily for years. And very important that like you're like, oh well, I'm in a great space right now, I don't need this. And like maybe you're going through like a really great time in your life, and it's not about practicing these things when thinking that like, oh, you're I'm not trying to manifest, you're not saying that like, oh, I'm trying to manifest something bad happening, but knowing that you have these tools and these habits, um, when anything happens in life, which things happen in life that could be really small, but depending on where we're at in life, like people, like one can make it seem really big and intense. And so having these habits keep you at like a good, I guess, equilibrium, if that's the right word to use at this moment. But it's just like keeping you at like a good base and creating like a good foundation for you to go from. So it's not like you're being swayed so extremely this way or that way. It doesn't mean like there's no crying and there's no anger, but it means that staying in these places are not going to be your norm, because you're creating like a place where it's like a foundation. You could sway these ways, but your foundation is here, and it's aligned, and it's easier to get back to yourself and who you are and stuff like that by practicing these things of like, oh, this is happening for me, like, oh, I can't wait to see how that's happening for me, and like adding these to my regular gratitude and affirmations list that I do every day. And obviously there's days that I might miss for whatever reason, but for years it ends up being like ingrained in you, and it becomes part of you, and that becomes who the voice in your head that you are training to be like, okay, well, let me teach you how to talk, let me teach you how to do this, teach you how to be more positive, right? Instead of letting the brain go off and like go to these dark places, and it could still go there, but knowing that like over time you're just like, no, I'm actually a very positive person and a very loving person. And so adding these to your gratitude or your affirmations and stuff like that is going to be very, very helpful when it comes to these situations, instead of going down rabbit holes and stuff like that. And again, you could still go down these rabbit holes, there's nothing wrong with you, but then learning how to come out and knowing that you can come out, that people have gone through these dark places. I certainly have. And then that's why I know that these things have been really helpful, because years ago some things happened in my life where I was like going down rabbit holes and not coming out as fast. And so these little repetitions and these consistent habits are going to be very, very helpful for these situations, in order to see signs and see the beauty in the signs and see the beauty in things, and keep your body and your soul in like a peaceful space, so it could show you the good in things, in all things, and no matter how painful or bloody it is. And so yeah, so I just want to say that this is a way to see signs and to keep your vibration in a certain way. And how I do it is doing these things in my gratitude affirmation list, where I say to myself certain things that that if I was to ever go through something, and that's not what I'm preparing for, but I know that like I'm training myself to that I stay in like a peaceful, positive state. So when I'm push, like when I'm in certain situations, I know where my energy is, and those are not the other stuff are not my energies, and I know how to come back to my base, my foundation, my peace, my joy. And I'm still always working at it to be even in like a more peaceful state, in a higher vibration. And yeah, so I hope this helps, and I hope if you have signs that there's way that you could see the good in it, that it's happening for you. And of course, there are signs that, indicate some other things for some people, and some things, you know, maybe it's like, something very disheartening, and it happened after you saw a sign and stuff like that. And this is not one of those things that I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to see, in terms of things happening in your life that aren't in those ways. We could talk about that in another video perhaps, but I'm talking about how to see things in life that happen, and see the good in them, and see that like it is happening for you. It's always happening for you. And this could happen similarly to someone else. And so I could have just been like, nope, I don't have to, you know, see the sign in this, or, be like, no, this is ridiculous. And that would be that would be less in a peaceful state. And I could have booked the trip because it wasn't a big deal. I was still able to book it. It was just at a much higher price, which is not a big deal. So, thankfully that I'm able to say that. And so, but I knew that was the beginning of like, no, it's a sign for me that it's not smooth sailing, and it ended up not being. And yeah, for these other things in life, seeing the signs, seeing these things, and knowing that like you can see it in a different way. And if you don't yet, to use me as a type of anchor until you are able to know that like it is possible to be in a place where you don't see it that way, and you work on it. It doesn't mean it takes years, but doing anything over time, it's going to be very helpful in all situations. So like even after a few weeks, a few months, or anything, and especially when you are in a really, really, really good place, because then you could better grasp these things and feel good, and know that like these things are true, and the universe has your back. But because then when you just start and you're not in a great place, of course you could do it. I've also done it, added habits and stuff that I needed, and tools when I wasn't in a great place. Did it take a few more steps perhaps? Yes. Yes, sometimes it does. For me it did, but it doesn't mean for everyone. But it just knowing that other people have done it, and that you could get there too, is really rewarding. Knowing that like people have gone through the hard stuff without these tools, and knowing that there's tools, and they just put one step in front of the other over time, is the best, is the best habit that you could do. Just like brushing your teeth, it becomes second nature to you over time. Washing your hands after the washroom, like things become second nature, for many. And so it's just a matter of doing these little habits. And so I hope this sign is a sign for you to know that like you can keep your vibration high no matter what is happening in your life, and that it doesn't mean that it's always easy, but it's possible, and we just keep trying. And it doesn't mean we suppress or ignore things that are happening in our life that aren't feeling great, because you're supposed to still feel your feelings. But you're allowed to give yourself permission to not have to feel that all day, every day, and to try to know that like, hey, you could have your time for crying, you could have your time for how you feel, but you could have your time for feeling the peace too, and make that most your day. And sometimes we're just going through moments in our life, or some people say seasons, but even like quarterly, seasons of sorts. And so, but yeah, so I hope you have a wonderful and magical day and know that there is magic all around you. And even though you don't see it, there's always something out there in the world within you that is loving you. And it's okay to receive that love. Okay. Bye.